Aloha. Thank you for joining us. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear us okay?
I can now. Yes, thank you.
All
It gets
right.
lost over
Good to
the
see you,
Pacific.
Coach.
No problem. Coach, it's so great to see you. You are preseason number one this season. Kind of a familiar spot. You're usually in the one or two spot because you've done such a great job. Let's talk about this year's team and what are you looking forward since we last saw you in the Big West Championships?
We have 8 new faces. And so I think we're going to be a little bit different looking team this year than we have been in the past. We're really excited about some of our incoming players, obviously, our returning players. We're going to work hard. That's really what it comes down to for our program is being picked number one now. It's an honor to have your colleagues, vote you number one. But quite honestly, it's all about hard work, consistency. We don't want to be number one now and not in March. That's the goal.
Coach, what have you learned the most just the last couple years of being able to kind of put the past behind you, maybe a tough loss or two? And I mean, you know how to win. You're a coach that just knows how to win, but you also know how to adjust and have to move. And this is a conference that invites you all to have to do that every weekend with the level of competition. I'm just kind of wondering if you can just offer some pearls of wisdom on how you just kind of have to navigate the waters of responding with a tough loss, but also celebrating championships and cutting down the nets at the same time.
We're working with kids, we're working with young adults, and every day they show up, they want to be their best. And sometimes that happens, and sometimes they fall a little short with what they do on the basketball court. They're still amazing kids. And I think that, last year in that semifinal game, San Diego was better than us. That's all there is to it. I think Heidi had a great game plan, and their kids just played better. So you take a look at that, you learn from it. Yeah, there are some days when I'm walking my dogs where I'm like, oh gosh, that game just sits really bad, and in my heart and for the kids. But bottom line, we're moving forward. We're never a program that looks back. We always move forward.
Lily, Melani, Kelsey, all guards, all get at 'em type players. How do they
Mhm.
drive kind of that culture of the Hawaii program?
All three of those young ladies, were with us for 4 years through COVID. And so it was, amazing to have familiarity. It was amazing to have that veteran leadership. And I think that a lot of the guards that have come in this year knew what those three guards meant to us and what they did. Those three kids love the state of Hawaii. They love the University of Hawaii. They love this program. And that's a thread that I think will continue to run through this group and through our locker rooms. So our incoming kids know that the bar was set high with, the past few years and what we lost. And I think they're up for that challenge.
Coach, one of the things that impresses me with your program is that you teach your kids and you coach your kids, and you also allow them to kind of learn and be an extension of you and your coaching staff on the court and make their own decisions and be independent. And that's just a really special way to be able to be coached. How is that opportunity for them going to be when you've got these 8 new players that you're going to expect not only your coaching staff to help those new players, but you're going to expect those veterans to help those new players, and what's that going to look like?
First off, I have to give all the props in the world to my staff. I am very fortunate that I've had continuity for 12 years with Alex Delaney, and I've got Flo and Kalila, Jason. They've all been here 5+ years, and so it's amazing when you have that kind of consistency and you all know each other very, very well. We all kind of have the same philosophy that it's about making, helping these kids become their best off the court so they can be amazing on the court. And that goes back to some of that independence that you're talking about. We really encourage our kids to fail. We want them to fail. We want them to fail forward. And that's what we talk about a lot is we give them the safe space to do silly things, because if they do silly things in practice, then they're going to do amazing things on the court when it comes, time in games. And so it's hard, when you have kids making a lot of mistakes, sometimes you want to get after them. But we absolutely give them a safe space. And as a coaching staff, I think we model that behavior very, very well. Our veterans model that behavior well because they've been put in those spots. And so now we have to get a group of incoming kids and transfers to really trust us that when we say we want you to fail, that's exactly what we mean.
Mm.
Coach, you watch different pockets of the country at different eras really grow the game of women's basketball. And we watched Connecticut kind of start it. We watched Iowa more recently and South Carolina. I was amazed to see the fan base that follows Hawaii women's basketball and
Yeah.
traveled to Nevada. You were on local news, you were on national news, you had radio. It was so much excitement around women's basketball. You have grown women's basketball in Hawaii. People love you. And what is that like in that state to be able to keep players home? I know you've recruited 11 international players, but they love you, coach, and they love what you're putting on the floor.
Well, it has been a joy of my lifetime to be the head coach for this program. It gets me very emotional to think about the support that I now have in this community, and how much they do embrace me, embrace my family, love these kids. We are the Aloha State, and that is about ohana. That is about empathy. It's about vision. It's about leadership. It's about all the different things that makes Hawaii more than just an amazingly beautiful place. And I am so fortunate that I have a community, a university from the president down that supports this program. And so it has been an honor of my lifetime, quite honestly, to be the head coach of this program. And I think the community knows that. And so to bring in players from around the world that feel that love and feel that support, I think that when we get on the court, these kids play for a bigger power, no doubt about it. They play for something bigger than themselves, and I think that comes through. And I know that's something that every day I step on the court, I want them to feel from me.
Coach, your backdrop, you've got some trophies there, very impressive. And I love the
Thank you.
fact that you've got the nets that are kind of, hanging over them just to add to the effect. But it's a very special feeling to climb up a ladder and cut a net down. And for everybody, like you said, Ohana family, right, to take a piece and to share what it took to cut down that net and hoist that trophy. And I'm wondering if you can just kind of help us understand how the grind and how hard it is to get to that end game, but the feeling in the end when you are climbing that ladder. What is that like?
Days are long and seasons are short, right? And so the daily grind of waking up and you think, okay, we got to get after it again. And I always tell my staff, we get older, these kids stay the same. So the lessons have to be the same from us every day. We can't forget that we're dealing with a new set of kids every year. And they might not know how to clean up their locker room, right? Because they're freshmen. And so we have to give that lesson again. But the daily grind completely disappears when you're climbing the ladder, and our band of 50 to 75 strong are just going crazy, and our cheerleaders are going crazy, and our fans are crying, and they've traveled to the ninth island, and you see the look of joy and pride. I can't get through Costco half the time without talking to people about one of these great, kids that I coach, and how long I've been here, and just what an amazing feeling it is to be the head coach of this program. So, to your point, it is a very special place, and we travel well because this community absolutely loves these kids. And I feel very honored, like I've mentioned, to coach here.
Coach, special people find special places and special people. So Hawaii is lucky to have you. You have talked to me a little bit about being at an edge in recruiting the New Zealand and Australia players because, hey, it's a little bit closer to come to Hawaii than it might be to the mainland. You've had great success, not only because you've had success, but doesn't that Hawaiian culture kind of play into the recruitment process for New Zealand and Australia?
100%. When those kids land on our campus, they're like, Coach, this feels like home. Just the music and the feel in the community, the food, just kind of our overall vibe. It's very different than on the continent. And when those kids land, they feel ohana, they feel family. And that's what they're coming from. These Australian kids and New Zealand kids, they come from remarkable families, and these parents have sacrificed a lot to get them onto our wavelengths and all the trainings they do. And so to know that they're going to leave their kids with a coaching staff that truly loves them and open up their doors to their homes, and know that these kids are going to be safe. Again, from our president down, there is a sense of family here. Our governor comes to our games, our mayor comes to our games and knows these kids by name. And when that happens and the kids are like, who's that? And you're like, well, it's our governor, it's the president of the university, it's the mayor. And they're like, hey, coach, great job. It just kind of permeates what you do. And it really is just a family feeling. And when we do our recruiting trips, these kids feel it. We walk into a restaurant and they recognize the coaching staff. They recognize our players. We're on TV half the time when we're out walking around. And so when players come in and they see that, they know it's very, very special here.
When you're a player and you are, being lauded by people in a restaurant or pulled aside and people want to take a selfie or recognized, I mean, that's a pretty special feeling when you're 19 and 20 years old. It's got to feel good, right? But it's a byproduct of a lot of hard work. And I'm wondering if them having those experiences kind of puts them at ease throughout the season so that they know, like, hey, if I have a bad game, I know my family, I know my ohana, I know my island has my back, and that I can kind of get through this. Tell me what that's like for those, I guess, those people that do reach out to those players, to be able to put them at ease and just say, like, we've got you.
Yeah. I think it's good and bad at times, right? I think the good is they know people absolutely love them and care about them and support the program. I also think there's an added layer of pressure sometimes because you want to reach those expectations. And so we talk all year long about, you get on the court, you do something over and over and over. When it becomes a big moment, it's just the same moment, right? And so you don't have to think about, oh, it's the last shot, it's the last play this way or that way. You've practiced it daily, and what you're supposed to do, what the expectation is. And, if there is a failure, we teach failing all year long too. And that's a part of growth. It's a part of life. And so our fan base is great because they get the lay after the game and they get the hug and they get the recognition. But our kids, we put them in a safe space to fail every single day. And that is a part of life. Life is not easy. Life, as we all know, is very difficult. And it's what you do with that on a daily basis. And so we try to teach that with our kids, that it's going to be hard. You're going to have to overcome challenges both off and on the court. And, yes, our fan base is there. But for me as their head coach, when these kids walk out our doors, in 4 years, I want them to be able to handle life and whatever it throws at them with grace, with empathy, with a lot of self-love. And, with the preparation for the last 4 years, that they know how to fail. They know how to lift people up. They know how to lift themselves up.
Coach, it is always great to talk with you. You get us emotional just by talking about your love for Hawaii. There's a celebrityness with you that you so much deserve because you make that whole state light up with what you've done with these fantastic female athletes and the great representatives they have become, not only on the basketball court, but off. Coach, thanks so much for spending time with Tammy and I.
Thank you. I know these kids fill my cup on a daily, and so does this community. Aloha.
Aloha.